We know that Scandinavian defense is a very solid opening setup for black, but there are some gambits which add spice to the game, even in the Scandinavian. Two of them are, one is for white. The one for white is called Tennison Gambit, and there's a gambit for black called Marshall Gambit. So in this video, we're gonna learn both the gambits. Both of them are highly risky because you're gambiting a pawn for some compensation. But if your opponent defends properly, it might backfire. You'll be a pawn down for the whole game. But if your opponent plays incorrectly, even makes a slight slip, you will probably get a huge advantage. So let me first show you the Tennison Gambit. It goes e4, d5, and white plays a very surprising move here, knight f3, just allowing black to take the pawn for free. So most black players would take it. Actually, the correct move was to take it. Now, white's idea is he goes knight g5, attacking the pawn with his knight so that he can capture back with the knight. The most natural move for black here would be knight f6, right? Knight f6, and now white goes d3, allowing black a chance to exchange off his extra pawn so that he can be a clear pawn up. But in return, white gets two active pieces, gets a bishop into the game fast. This is where the trap comes in. If black player is careless and he does not realize the danger he is in, the danger he is in is huge because there is this queen takes queen idea, but the king is defending it. But there is a way to make the king go away from the square. For example, the most natural move here, imagine you're looking at it from black side. There's a knight on g5, there's a bishop on d3. You would really love to play the move h6, right? To kick the knight away. It's what we usually do. It makes space for the king in the future and kicks the knight away for now. But if you play a move like h6 in this position, then white has this amazing strike, knight f7, sacrificing a piece, king takes. Now the king is separated from the queen, but your queen is still blocked by the bishop. But the bishop moves across and stops the king from going back, and we get the queen. So this is actually a threat. After bishop into d3, like after e4, d5, knight f3 takes knight g5, knight f6, d3 takes. This is actually a threat. It's not that black can play any move and any move other than h6 and ignore this. This is actually a threat. If you play a move like a6 or knight a6 or b6, any move that does not stop this, if you play b6 also same thing happens. It's not just for h6 move. You can still go knight f7, king takes, and you can still go bishop g6. It doesn't matter if the h pawn can take or not. Even if h pawn hasn't moved and can take, you still get the queen. So black players have to be careful after bishop takes d3. Black has to deal with this threat. The most natural way to deal with this is with knight c6. You might probably think knight is blocking the pawn. It's kind of even you want to play pawn c6, but you can't play pawn c because of knight f7 right now. So knight c6 is one option. Basically, now you're defending your queen. So queen takes queen never becomes a threat. So that is one option. The other option is just to go e6. Now it stops knight f7 because if knight f7, king takes. And if bishop g6, you have the option of king e7 first of all. You also have the option of king takes or pawn takes. Because now if queen takes, sorry, if queen takes, there is bishop b4 check. You give back one piece with bishop d2. Sorry, not bishop d2. Let's say white plays, if you play bishop d2, I'll just, Here white can go bishop d2 and black will just capture the queen. You'll get back one piece, but black is still a piece up. So that is one option. Or even after bishop gc, you also have king e7, which is not as good, but you get the point. The e6 move makes space for the bishop to come out and makes space for the king to come to e7. And it's also a natural move. It's developing the bishop. It blocks the c8 bishop, but that usually takes time to come out anyway. So this is another natural move you can play. You can also go bishop g4, but then you have to calculate this properly. Like knight f7 is something that white can do still. You might have to calculate this. Here, if black goes bishop takes queen, then in that case, white will also take. And who is better? Like for example, if black can go bishop c2. and then after you take, black can take back. So this might not work out for white. If you look at the position, black is a pawn up, right? So g4 is possible, but you still have to calculate the variations. Black's best move after bishop g, I mean after bishop g4, right? Sorry, after bishop g4, black's best, bishop g4, attacking the queen. If white goes f3, which is more normal, white goes f3, black can simply go back to d7, right? So that doesn't make sense. So let's say white takes. Now black's best move is queen d5. If you simply go here, the line we looked at, black will win a pawn, but at the cost of not being able to castle, and white gets good pieces, knight out, bishop out, castles. White has very good compensation for the pawn. So you might not want to do this from the black side, but black does have, after knight f7, you have queen d5. Now the game becomes complicated because white's best move is f3, but black will just sacrifice the piece anyway. And after queen takes, and king takes, this is a much better version of the previous variation where black is still a pawn up and his king is slightly better, and white's pawn structure is still not that great. So this is possible. Bishop g4 is possible, but the better option is to just go e6 or knight c6. I would recommend e6. So yeah, you have to deal with this threat if you're black. So this is the only trap that I know of in the Tennison Gambit, where the knight comes to f7 and separates the king from the queen. Now coming to the black side, after e4 d5, white takes. Black can also go knight f6, inviting white to defend this pawn. Like black is saying, I want to take back with my knight, which is much better for black, right? For example, if you play a normal move like knight c3, I'll just take with the knight. This is a much better version of the Scandinavian for black because the queen can come out and you cannot attack the queen easily. So after knight f6, if white holds on to the pawn, even with bishop c4, same thing, you can just take, right? So let's say white holds on to the pawn with c4. Now the point of black is black will go c6, just like in the Tennison, allowing white to exchange of that extra pawn, but in return you get control of the d4 square. d4 is completely within black's hands, and white will never get to push the pawn to d4. If white gets d4, he is completely winning. It's a pawn up and he has a center, but black will not allow that. For example, after knight f3, black can simply go e5 and hold this square. Let's say after bishop e2, black will just develop his piece. Here already e4 becomes a problem. So let's say white goes d3. Then black can just go bishop c5. You can still go e4, but yeah, let's say bishop c5. You can see the black is already better. That is surprising. This control of d4 square and the weaknesses on this file is giving black enough compensation for the pawn. Engine says even go for e4. e4 takes and queen takes. Engine likes it for black. This is unbelievable. Bishop e3. It looks like everything is fine, but black is going to take the bishop out and castle. So this is good compensation for black. So Marshall Gambit, as this is called different names, but it's mainly known as Marshall Gambit, is a interesting gambit for black, which does not like count on just one trap. It counts on positional play and the control of the d4 square. Now white's best response after after pawn takes and knight f6, which is Marshall Gambit, white's best response would be just to give back this pawn, basically declining the gambit. Just going d4 is recommended. d4 knight f3, any normal move, because if you hold on to this pawn, it might become problematic. With d4, you can even play c4 next and get complete control of the sender. Now knight f3, e6, and the game goes on. e6 or bishop g4, anything, or bishop f5. Game goes on, but white gets a decent position because he has more control of the sender and his pieces are able to come out without any problems. The d4 square is well within control. So it is easy to diffuse the Marshall Gambit, but you have to be not too greedy. If you're greedy and hold on to the pawn, then black will be successful in the Gambit. He will get good positional compensation for the pawn. The other Gambit, the Tennison, is more about trapping the black king. Like separating the king and queen. But the martial gambit is more about positional play. So these are the two gambits in the Scandinavian defense which you can use in your games, but at some risk.